Hi everyone, welcome to the Q&A. I hope you had a lovely bank holiday weekend. Our bank holiday weekend was really productive, like really chill, but really productive. So Will quite often does this thing where he has something he calls a hackathon, and he brings his pillow downstairs. He sleeps downstairs, he codes into the early hours of the morning, he gets he gets loads of Monster in, and he gets loads done because we're bringing something really exciting to the squad. Now, I can't say what yet. If you're a squaddy, you probably know what it might be related to, but I can't say exactly what it is yet. But he got really quite far with it actually, so I'm really excited that something is coming soon. And also, we created a brand new area on the website, our pelvic floor area. Pelvic floor is one of our focuses in July. That was like the main focus of the month. So I've put all the educational videos in there. I've put any, specific prompts in there as well. So classes where we really went into the pelvic floor. It's all in that area, gang. So I hope that's really useful for you all. And in other news, we have events coming up. So a few of you have been asking me about baby showers. Like, am I doing anything? And I didn't really think, to be honest. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do a squad baby shower. So I've inquired into like a private hire of a room in the Cozy Club in Nottingham. So gang, if you can make it, we need at least 24 people to go because they have like a minimum spend, etc. So I think when I last looked at the poll, it's on the Facebook group, and we've got enough people, so that'll be really cool. But it's a really good opportunity just to to meet other squaddies, to put names to faces, faces to names, etc. And by the way, we don't expect any presents. So just bring yourself, bring yourself. We just want to see you there. And a couple of weeks later, that will be when Lorna will be going off to have a little baby Belle. And team, the maternity plan of action is going to be released in a few weeks in September. I won't be going off on maternity then. I'm just going to tell you the plan. I think it's going to blow your minds. All right, let's get on with the Q&A. And this coming Monday, as in Monday the 1st of September, is our final intake for our 6-week course. So if you've got any friends, or even if you're listening to this right now and you're not a squaddy, and you're thinking, yeah, I've been putting it off for a long time, I should just do it. Come and join us. You won't regret it. This is the last intake of this year. And why wait till next year? Why put off your health and your fitness? Like, that's the last thing you want to put off. So make sure you get in. Just message me Reboot on email, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever. Just say the word Reboot. I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. And at the moment, I've got enough places. So if you wanted to, I thought I'd make the last one. I'll try and squeeze on a few more places just to, just with it being the last one. So, I've squeezed in 4 more places than I normally would. So I have got some spaces left if you're wanting to join at this moment in time. Right. I am going to go, crack on with the Q&A. We've got 3 main sections today. I'm going to be talking about exercise, nutrition, and then also sleep. So kind of really, really pulling it back to the basics. So we'll start with the sleep section, because I think sleep is something that actually a lot of us really, really struggle with. And it's one of those things that sometimes is completely out of our control. If you've got little ones, it can be completely out of your control. That will be me and that'll be me in a few months. If you're somebody who just struggles with sleep anyway because you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, to an extent, that's kind of out of our control. Yes, there are things we can do to help our stress, and we'll talk about that, but it feels like it's out of our control. And then if you are going through the perimenopause, again, it can be out of our control. So I think this is the biggie. This is the big one. So let's start with sleep. And the first question is, I'm falling to sleep okay, but then I wake up about half an hour or 40 minutes later. Have you got any ideas as to why this might happen, and any tips? Okay, so it is actually really common, and it normally comes down to one, or actually a combination of different things. It can be due to a blood sugar dip, if you've had a carb heavy evening, or if you've had some like sugary snacks before you go to bed. It can be due to a stress or a cortisol spike. It can be due to late liquids or alcohol, room temperature, light, noise, and it can also be hormonal. So basically, you're in the light stages of sleep. So we have a few stages of our sleep. You've got the first stage where you really are in a light sleep and you're kind of, it's almost that, drifting off stage, and it's quite easy to wake you up. And then as we progress into the night, you start to get into your deeper, more restorative sleep, really, really works to replenish your muscles, the body. And then you have your REM sleep, which is your rapid eye movement sleep. And that is where your eyes are literally, they're doing that in the back of your head. But that is the sleep that really restores your brain, your memories, helps us concentrate, helps us focus. And you'll notice that when you wake up the next day, any problems or anything that's been on your mind, sometimes all of a sudden you know the answer, or all of a sudden you just remember that thing. And that's because the brain is doing lots to renew itself overnight, if you like. So there's a few different stages. I've simplified that quite a bit, but there's a few different stages. So it kind of sounds like we're not really getting into the deeper stages. We're waking up when it's easier to be woken up. Now, here's what I would recommend to try your best to stop that from happening. Firstly, I would look at your food. When are we stopping eating before we go to bed, first of all? And this is one of the other questions, actually. You want really, if you're going to have a meal, evening meal, you want that to be, of course, I'd recommend you to have an evening meal. I kind of came out of it wrong. Your evening meal wants to be 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. And you want to aim for protein, fiber, and some healthy fats. So, for example, salmon with some veggies, maybe cooked in some olive oil, perhaps, and with some sort of fibrous sauce like sweet potato or normal potato, if you like normal potato, quinoa, that kind of thing. That will steady your blood sugar and it will give the body a little bit of everything. And if actually you're going to bed and you do feel quite hungry before you go to bed, have a really protein rich snack before you go to bed, about roughly, ideally, about 30, 60 minutes before you go to bed. I'm talking about a bit of Greek yogurt, a few nuts, maybe rice cake with some peanut butter, something like that. That's more fats than high protein, but just something small that is going to not be like a quick release of energy. So we're not talking about popcorn here. We're not talking about crisps. We're not talking about chocolate. We're talking about something that is going to be a bit more of a slow release of energy, something that is going to keep you feeling fuller for longer. You probably want to avoid having any caffeine and alcohol before you go to bed. In fact, you definitely want to avoid that. If you do struggle with this type of sleep and you do wake up, look at when you have your last coffee or your last cup of tea. Can you make sure that that is maybe before 2 p.m., for example? Or even earlier, even before midday? Can we stop having caffeinated drinks after midday? Did you have any alcohol? Alcohol is an awful disruptor for sleep. Can we be more mindful of that? If you are going to have any, can you have it earlier? Can we keep it lighter? Do we need to have it? Liquids. So a little bit more on this in a moment as well. But try not to have loads and loads of fluid just before you go to bed. Maybe having that last bit of water, your 60, 90 minutes before you go to bed, unless, of course, you're thirsty before you go to bed. I'm not saying deprive yourself of drinking water if you're thirsty. Do you have a proper wind down? Before you go to bed, are you watching a screen? Are you flicking through your phone? Is it cool in your room? Are the lights down low? Could you do anything like some breath work or something from our meditation section, for example, to really, really help you wind down? There's some really gorgeous pre-bedtime yogas on there too, and they can really help you get into the deeper stages of sleep, which is sort of what we're struggling to get into here. So think about your environment and think about your wind down routine. So one thing that we have is we we now got, actually, all these years of saying, yeah, we're going to get like a portable aircon thing. We've actually got one. It's literally been the best investment ever, 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 ever. Like, of course, the initial outlay can be, they're not the cheapest things. And I can't remember what we paid for ours. It was like couple £100 maybe. Anyway, literally never look back. But it means that we can have the room really cool. We can have the room at 18 degrees so we can sleep really well. So if you can, something like that, or some blackout curtains, just make your environment really, really peaceful, really cool, really calm. If you've got things going over in your mind, keep a notepad by the bed and do a brain dump before you go to bed. So it's all out of your head, any worries, any to-dos, anything you're thinking of, get it out of your head and put it on a piece of paper. Or sometimes I email myself. Things that I'm thinking about, and then I don't have to think about it. So that's another little tip. Of course, you'd be looking at a screen if you do that, but if it works for you, it works for you. And then, so we've got to be thinking, right, okay, it could be a hormonal thing. So if it is hormonal, what can we do about it? Now, the reason being is it's really common in perimenopause because estrogen and progesterone, overall, they drop. They fluctuate, but they're overall dropping. and your sleep becomes a little bit lighter and your brain is way more sensitive to waking up. Progesterone is the hormone that is the calming hormone, and this is dropping. So we're getting less of that. And estrogen is making us more susceptible to things like hot flashes and just making us more, in general, sensitive to sleep. So cortisol, that is our stress hormone, sometimes surges as well. Our hormones are all over the place. This is our stress hormone. There can be a little bit of a surge just after you first nod off, which makes you ping awake. And we've already spoken about blood sugar dips. It can be due to bladder sensitivity. So lower estrogen makes your bladder a little bit more sensitive, a bit more irritable. So you feel like you need to go to the toilet more. And of course, we might be dealing with night sweats, hot flashes. So you're not doing anything wrong. And that would be a hormone related thing. It's really, really common. Control the controllables. What's your stress like? What have you eaten before you go to bed? What is the temperature of your room like? Before you go to bed, can you do a double pee? Can you go once, then brush your teeth, wash your face, moisturize, whatever you do, and then go again? Can you do the double pee? I always do that. I don't know if anyone else does, like lock in that pee. Do that, do the double pee. And then, of course, if it is something that is really, really bothering you, go to see somebody, go to your GP, have a look at HRT. What can you do? Focus on the things that you can do as opposed to the things that you can't. And of course, with sleep, one of the worst things you can do is worry about it. If you've been lying in bed for 20 minutes and you're still wide awake, get up, go and do something, go read for a little bit, go have some water. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Control the controllables the next day. Nourish your body really well, move your body, drink lots of water, and we try again the next night, but just don't stress about it. Okay, next question is when to stop drinking at night to not wake up early to go to the toilet. So as I mentioned, roughly about 60 to 90 minutes before you go to bed, roughly. Obviously, it depends on how much you're going to be drinking, how thirsty you are, what foods you've had. If you've had foods that are a little bit more salty, sometimes we need a bit more water. Eating a lot of protein and a lot of fiber, you will need more water, etc. But as a rule of thumb, about 60, 90 minutes before you go to bed, like for a proper big glass, unless you're thirsty before you go to bed. I wouldn't overthink it too much. I'd be thinking, okay, how do I feel at the moment? Am I waking up all the time? Right, when did I have my last bit of water? And be thinking like that. The final question on the sleep was, when looking at eating habits, is there a best time to finish eating by how many hours before you go to bed? About 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. Unless you do feel a bit peckish before you go to bed, then like I said, have something that's going to be a little bit more slow release energy. So other things I didn't mention, things like bananas, or if you really are feeling quite hungry, can you have a really, really small bit of like porridge or something like that? I don't know, just oats. It keeps you feeling fuller for longer, it's slow release of energy, etc. So, or even like a piece of, I don't know, rye bread with something on top, something like that. Yeah, that's what you want to do. And try and aim to have a gap. You don't want to be eating directly before you go to bed because your body then is engaging the sympathetic nervous system, which is, it kind of ramps everything up. So, your body's going to be working hard to then try and digest the food when actually your body needs to be winding down to try and go to bed. So it can disturb your sleep. It can disturb you getting to sleep and then getting into the deeper stages of sleep as well. So you can have a bit more of a restless night. Okay, let's move on to the exercise side of things. Is it better to do strength training and then cardio, or the other way around? It really depends, okay? So it depends on your goals, what you're focusing on at the moment. It also depends on how you feel, and how long the session is going to be. Now, with our sessions, they're 20 minutes long. So I would say it doesn't matter. It's whatever you prefer. But if the sessions were going to be longer and your main goal is to get stronger, I would say do your strength training first, or even regardless, if your main aim is to tone your body, to get stronger, do your strength training first, because that is when you're going to have more energy, you're going to be less fatigued. So do that first so you can focus on really, really good form and really, getting the weight on there, getting the weight on the bar, and then do your cardio afterwards. Unless you absolutely love your cardio, you adore your cardio, and you feel more warm and you feel more alert and ready for strength training, then absolutely fine to do it that way round as well. But if I had to say, I would say probably your strength training first, just so it's safer, so you're less fatigued, so you've got better form, and then your cardio second. But with our sessions being 20 minutes, it doesn't really matter too much. Is there an optimum amount of time you should leave between eating and working out? Okay, so it depends on what you're going to be having. So if we look at the meals, for example, say you're having a big meal, that might be your lunch, or maybe you had a big breakfast or big dinner. 2 to 3 hours roughly before training, 2 to 3 hours. Light snacks, if you're going to have a bit of toast, banana, yogurt, and a small little bowl of cereal or something, 30 to 90 minutes. So me personally, before I teach my morning classes, I have something small. I have a small little bowl of oats, porridge. I have a small little bowl of porridge, and that's about 45 minutes before. For some people, that would sit really heavy. For me, not at all. For me, that feels really quite light, and I feel very energized. If you're going to do something like high intensity or strength training, I would definitely say, yeah, make sure you have something in the tank before you do it. And if you're going on, say, like a longer run, absolutely make sure you're energized before you go. We don't want to put the body under any stress or strain. We want to make sure that we're fueled, we are ready. If you're going to do something like an easy walk or some yoga or a stretch, it could be slightly closer. Although I wouldn't really want to be doing a downward facing dog with on a full stomach. Or you can even go without, if you're doing an early morning class and you're just getting up and you're doing a stretch, you don't necessarily need something. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea. It is quite personal as well. So for me, for example, if I had a meal, this is just me, and I'm someone who eats often, like probably, I eat quite a lot because I'm very active, but I probably have smaller meals more often, for example. If I were to eat my breakfast and then wait 3 hours to train, I'd be starving. I'd be absolutely starving, and I feel like I've got nothing left. So I would have something about 30-45 minutes before as well. So that's because I know my body, and I know my body really well as well. And that's just how I work. And it's kind of almost what I've trained my body to do as well, like more little and often as opposed to really big meals. So you have to find a way that works for you and works for you in this chapter of life as well. But as a general rule of thumb, a big dinner, 2 to 3 hours, a light snack, 30-90 minutes before roughly, and go with how you feel, most importantly. Really interestingly as well, I find that if I have, say, a few days where I've been really, really active, it ramps up my hunger levels quite a lot. And I feel like maybe that gap needs to be a bit smaller. And then I might have like a couple of rest days or a rest day, and there's a bit of a delayed effect. But then my hunger levels will go down, and actually I feel like I can go slightly longer. So it can change on a day-to-day basis. This is a really in-depth answer to the question, isn't it? I hope that answers the question. Okay, let's move on to the next one. What's the best exercise or type of exercise for managing menopausal weight gain around the abdomen? So you can't fat spot reduce. So you can't choose an exercise to do to literally help us melt fat from the middle. It doesn't work like that. But you can change your body composition. And this is where, basically when we go through the perimenopause and postmenopause, due to the decline in estrogen, our body prefers to store our fat around our stomach, as opposed to, for ladies, around our bottom thighs, arms, aka bingo wings, etc. It prefers to store it around our stomach. But we can change our body composition. There are things that you can do, and it's not just a case of training. It's a case of managing your nutrition in a really smart way, and also managing your stress. So the most important things to do are strength training, absolute minimum 2 times a week, but really you want to be aiming for 3, maybe 3-4 times a week. And that is things like stronger, looking at a full body. So, or you could do it where you do 2 stronger sessions and then you do 1 upper, 1 lower, for example. And we've got all of that on demand. And also, if you follow our timetable, we always make sure that if you are following the timetable, either the first or the second class, there's always at least 2 strength classes in there. And then you could always, if you wanted to do 3, you could do a third one at the weekend, for example. So that's really important. And the more muscle mass you have, so muscle is active, it's active tissue, the higher your metabolic rate. So the more lean muscle mass you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate. That's how it works. Cardio is really good. Keep it, 1 to 2 sessions a week. Low impact, high impact, whatever you enjoy is great. Just do the stuff that you enjoy. Your overall activity is really important. That's called your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Anything outside of a structured workout steps aka your steps. You want to be aiming for anything about 7,500 plus. 7,000. It depends on what research you're reading. 7,000 or 7,500 plus on average per day. So if it's low in the week, pull it up at a weekend so your weekly average is in a good area. But that really kind of quietly drives fat loss. On top of that, this is what you want to focus on: core work, Pilates. So make sure you've got a strong core. And then make sure that you are controlling the diet. So if you find that you are getting weight around your tummy, you want to put yourself in a bit of a calorie deficit, not a massive one, but make sure you're having plenty of protein throughout the day, intervals throughout the day, lots of fruit, veggies, fiber, just to really support your recovery, and also make sure that we're maintaining as much lean muscle mass as possible and supporting our digestion, because sometimes we can quite often get more bloating and things when we're going through perimenopause. And finally, you really want to be focusing on your sleep and your stress levels. Final question on the exercise side: does regular exercise boost your metabolic rate if it's declined due to perimenopause? If so, which type or combination is most effective? Aha! Okay, really kind of similar to the one before. Yes, strength training. The more lean muscle mass you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate. To an extent, really. But the best things you can do is focus on the basics. Make sure you are doing strength training, progressive strength training. So, when we do stronger, week 3, 4, we add nuggets on. Yeah, there's a reason for that. So make sure you are doing things like that. Like I said, absolute minimum twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week, really. Make sure you are strength training. Make sure you're doing things like Pilates. Yes, for your core strength, but also, for the mind body side, it's really important, and for your mobility. So make sure you're doing that. Intervals can be quite, really quite good. So things like your higher intensity training, not necessarily with jumping, if it doesn't feel nice on your joints, do sculpt instead of hit. Or actually, if you like the jumping, it feels fine, do hit instead of sculpt, vice versa. But then it is about your stress. It's about your sleep. It's about your daily movement. What are you doing daily with your steps? And it's about getting enough protein in. So just as a rough guide, you want to be aiming for around about 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight, 1.5 to about 1.8-ish. But just aim for about 1.5 roughly. And that will support you if you're perimenopausal, if you are active, if you are trying to lose weight. It will really support your muscles to help you maintain lean muscle mass. And if you find that actually your fatigue or your weight gain is pretty dramatic, it might be worth going to see a GP. It might be your B12 levels. It could be iron. It could, be your thyroid. It could be anything. So it's always, if you're already doing all those things, you're doing 7,500 steps plus on average, you're eating really well, you're eating enough protein, you're working out, you're doing 3 strength classes a week and 2 cardios, you're doing a Pilates, nothing's happening, you're managing your stress, you feel great, you're not having any alcohol. Just make sure you're doing the basics. But it is always worth speaking with somebody. Or you can always ask me as well. So yeah, in terms of combination, all of them, strength, cardio, holistic, but at least 2 to 3 strength classes. In nutrition and mood, actually. How do I get more nutrients into my diet in one hit? Okay, so this is something that you can repeat. Now, a little meal or smoothie builder. So let's just go, if we go for like a smoothie bowl or a smoothie or a breakfast, start with your base. So what can we have as the base? Greek yogurt, we can have kefir, we can have milk as a base. Then let's put some protein in. So get a scoop of whey or plant protein, whatever you want. Then some greens, so some spinach or kale. You won't taste it, trust me. Then some colour, berries, frozen fruit, whatever you want in there. Some healthy fats, so chia seeds, a few nuts, half an avocado, whatever you enjoy. And then any extra bits that you might want, like a bit of, cinnamon or something like that, bit of cocoa nibs or whatever you enjoy. So that can be a nice sort of formula to follow. So you've got base, protein, greens, you've got colour and healthy fats. You can do things like a power plate, power bowl. So build a quarter of your plate with protein, a quarter with whole grains. So that is like your brown rice, your quinoa, and then half a plate of some colourful vegetables, and then a drizzle of some olive oil, so you got some healthy fats in there as well. You can do things like tray bakes, with roasted vegetables. Just get as many colours in there as possible, put it in the oven, and then boom, you've got loads of nutrients in one hit there that you can put with your dinner or put with your lunch. Soups, if you like making soup, they can be good. Personally, I'm terrible at doing stuff like that. I just don't have the patience or soup. So I'm more of a throw it on the plate kind of gal. If you're going to make some eggs, if you do an omelette, for example, can you just chop a load of different vegetables in there? So maybe some peppers and different colors of peppers. Can you put some mushrooms, maybe some tomatoes and spinach? So just think color all the time. Think color. You could make a parfait, and this is quite nice for either breakfast or pudding. Greek yogurt, berries, mixed seeds. So you get some frozen berries. They tend to be a little bit cheaper and they don't go off as fast as well. Just keep them in your freezer. Get a big handful of mixed berries, put them in some yogurt, put some seeds on top. Boom. Perfect. And so they're all really good ways to get more nutrients in one hit. And the last question is for the best practices for when you have a low mood. So firstly, I would be thinking, okay, and also I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling good. I think we all go through phases where we don't feel good. And for some people, this can last longer than others and deeper than others. But what is important to think about the things that you can control, and also to kind of almost monitor this. If it's the same time every month, for example, and it's linked to the cycle, we can kind of rationalize a little bit like, okay, I know why I'm feeling like this right now. Or if it's hormonal, if you're going through the perimenopause, I know why I'm feeling a little bit low right now. And we can rationalize it a little bit. But in general, so yes, monitor it, track it. In general, here's what you want to be doing. Making sure that you are doing daily movement practice. So getting onto the on-demand area or getting onto the live classes every day for that boost. It just gets the feel-good endorphins going round. It just makes you feel so much better. So moving the body is really, really important. Then you also want to be thinking about focusing on the basics. So are we doing the basics well? For example, are we getting good sleep? Are we getting good, deep, restorative sleep as well? Am I drinking enough water? Am I nourishing my body well? Am I starting my day with some good energy that's going to keep me feeling fuller for longer? Am I starting my day with a protein-rich breakfast? Am I having some fibrous carbohydrates in there just to help my energy levels stay good and my blood sugar stay at a steady level? And then I would say there's a few other things. Are you getting outside? Are you seeing light in the morning? Are you taking yourself out for a walk? Just getting out in nature can really, really help. Are you avoiding the drains like alcohol, late meals, doom scrolling at night? Are you slipping into any of those? And one thing that you can do is write a list, maybe 5 things. So you could have your feeling better 5 list. 5 things that make you personally feel really good. That might be like a hot shower. It might be standing outside with a cup of tea and just breathing in the fresh air. It might be getting one thing done on your to-do list. It might be journaling. It might be doing 10 jumping jacks, whatever it is. And tick off 2 of them. So have a little feel better 5. And it might even be going onto the bolt-on area and doing a 5-minute whatever workout just to make you feel good. So, and also connection, like messaging someone, talking to somebody, joining one of the live classes. If you normally go on demand, just get up early, come and join us live. It can really, really give you that boost because people lift people up, right? And of course, if your low mood is recurring all the time, it's lasting longer than a couple of weeks, it's affecting how you feel about yourself, it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting your work, it's affecting your sleep, or if you're having any dark thoughts, please just go and speak to somebody. Please do speak to a professional. You're not alone in that. It's really important to talk to somebody. So focus on the things that are within your control. Are you looking after yourself? Are you nourishing your body? Are you moving your body daily? Are you sleeping the best you can? Are you talking to someone? Are you getting outside? And write your feel better 5 list. That can be a really good thing to do. Okay, team. Well, I hope you have a fantastic week. I just realized that if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, I've just been like getting further and further down. You've already just been seeing my head like bobbing at the bottom of the screen. Sorry about that. I've been leaning. It's just really comfortable. Anyway, I will see you in class, gang, and take care, everyone. And remember, you're only one workout away from feeling in a totally, totally different place. I'll see you soon, team.